What's up guys, Politics Gaming here, and today we're doing a brand new video about the top 6 upcoming games for the year 2023. This is going to be the top upcoming political and geopolitical games that are upcoming. I want to disclose right now, I am not being paid to promote any of this, and I am also just doing this out of my own free will. Essentially, I'm not, again, being paid for any of this. This is just me talking about what I am looking forward to in the next year. So guys, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. I just wanted to get something out of the way first. This year has been an amazing year for Politics Gaming. This has been my most successful year. I have been getting so many subscribers. We got 1,500 subscribers. We had over 350,000 people watch this year, or actually it was like 314,000. I know that's a big difference, but it's just been very successful this year. And if we can get 1,500 subscribers in 1 year, imagine how many we can get in 2023. So without further ado, I won't delve too long into that, but I just want to thank each and every one of you guys for the support that you've given me, even though there's been so much happening in my life as of this year. I had to move several times. My dad was in the hospital, and it has just been a roller coaster of a year. And I appreciate every single one of you guys for supporting me all the way through, even whenever my content just wasn't coming out that often. But in the next year, I do have a lot of content in store for you guys, and some of the games here I will be previewing, and I will try to at least preview all of these games that I am talking about on this list. But again, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let's talk about the 6 upcoming games of the year. The first one that I want to talk about, we've already talked about on this channel before. I have several dedicated videos to it, but this one is just going to be a given. This is Lawgivers II. It is the ultimate political games sandbox game for PC, Android, and iOS. It is made by Damian Bernardi. It has over 1,000 backers on Kickstarter with over 40,000 euros pledged to the game. You can pre-order it or late pledge for the game on this. All the links for all of these games will be in the description down below. All of the Discords will be in the description down below. So if you're interested in any of these games, go ahead and use those resources in the description. The Lawgivers game is essentially a political sandbox game that features multiple ways to run for elections, approve and reject laws, and govern your country. Start with your political adventure from the very bottom, and perhaps one day lead your nation to become the most influential in the world. You can play as 3 countries starting off as soon as the game comes out, which will be the United States, Germany, and the United Kingdom. And more countries will be featured as the game is developed. Essentially, it's essentially the political process, except you are playing more like your party leader, and it's kind of like you're passing laws, you have to debate them, and there's a lot of different types of political orientations that you can have, and you can also try to pass laws in certain ways. So you have to debate the bill, you have to kind of like negotiate with your other party, and it's going to be a pretty exciting game, and there's a lot of play testers already for it that pledged to the Kickstarter. I have not gotten my hands on this game yet, but I will probably get it before it comes out, and I'm working with the developer to do so. The developer, Dami Dev is his name. Essentially, I reached out to him, and what he told me is that the game will go in public early access in Q2 2023, which he is quite sure of, and he is currently expanding the USA and Germany, including introducing new functions for the Speaker of the House, primaries, and more. So essentially you can debate topics such as immigration, for example. You have statements, laws can promise to raise or reduce a parameter in their country, hospital beds, motorway length, and homeless population. The outreach of the statement depends on the budget. So you can say that this person will make a speech. The statement will be to promise to reduce the prison population. The media outlet will be through Wolf News, and then the budget will be this much. And then the outreach reach for that will be, so and so amount. So essentially, you have all of these different types of legislations that you can go after. You can poll people. It's going to be pretty detailed and intuitive. The other game changer that I have not seen in any of the games on this list is the addition of gerrymandering. So every so often that you can draw the congressional districts in these states. So we can see right here that someone is drawing the districts in the state of Florida. And so essentially you can gerrymander a state, and then maybe you can get the congressional support from that state, or even win that state in a general election. You can also play as France, you can play as the United Kingdom, you can play as Germany. However, at the very beginning, whenever the game is released, it will be released as Germany, the United Kingdom, and the United States. So we can see right here that this is what it will look like whenever an election is filled out. So this is the election for the Bundestag of the Federal Republic of Germany. So we can see right here that all of these regions or states are being filled out as they vote. And then we will see the makeout of the Bundestag right here. So we can see that the SD, or the Social Democrats, do get a majority in this, which is, I believe, kind of relative to what it was in the 2021 federal election in Germany. And then another one we see right here is the election in the United Kingdom. So we see green is possibly turnout. So the lighter green is lower turnout, the darker green is higher turnout. And then we see this fill out, and then we see the actual election results. So we see the Labour Party, we see the Conservatives kind of fighting for control over Parliament right here, over a majority in Parliament. It looks like the Conservatives have a slight majority right there. And then this is what Parliament will look like, or Congress will look like. So you have all of these different types of characters that you can interact with. You can, it says every Parliament elects a Speaker of the House, a Vice Speaker, and committees. So you can serve on a specific committee, or you can have a secret vote for a bill. So there's a lot of different ways that you can actually interact with your colleagues in Parliament, and then this is how the laws will work. So the new bill is presented, it goes to committee, and then it is approved by the committee, it goes to a plenary, and then if it's rejected there, then it goes back to committee. But if it gets rejected by committee, it obviously dies. If it's approved by the plenary, it goes to the president, and then, or the monarch, and then they approve it, and then the law goes into force after a certain amount of time for implementation. And then in addition to constitutional and ordinary laws, there are now treaties which can be ratified in all countries. One example is the NATO treaty, which gives a substantial defense bonus to all participants, which I think that war will not really be that much of an issue in this game. NATO will just kind of be there for certain countries to adopt if they do not have it, or maybe you can leave NATO if you so choose. But moving on, we go to the president. The president is a management and political simulation game where you can play as the president as one of the available countries. You can shape your country and meet the expectations of your people to be reelected in the next elections. This is going to be different mainly because this is going to be very Eurocentric. A lot of the games that I'm talking about right now are games that have a inclination toward the United States. They're American political simulators, which is what a majority of these simulators are. They are more centric on the United States because I believe the United States has the more popular, I'm not going to say that, I'm using that very lightly, I'm not saying it's actually popular, but it's one of the most interesting in the world because of how unique it is, I believe. And it's going to be, again, very centric to mainly kind of France, but you can also play as Germany. I think you can play as a lot of EU countries. So the main one that you're going to be able to play as at first will be France. So you can see right here that you can play as the Law Republic. You can play as the Communist Union. So these are the available parties that you can see right here. You have the PSD, you have the Avant, you have the Ecologist Movement, you have the France Front, you have the Communist Union, etc. So there's a lot of different types of parties that you can play as. You can also have some economic control that you have. So you have the primary sector, the secondary sector, the tertiary sector, and there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of move around this game. You have 100 laws that can be voted on. 200 members of parliament vote individually. The player can play as existing political figures. So we can assume maybe like Marine Le Pen will be available to play. You can play as Emmanuel Macron, etc. Maybe even some former French presidents that are still alive. You can also create one thanks to our character generator. The membership of a figure to a party's dynamic. A political figure can join several different parties during a game. It is possible to create a party or join an existing one. The player's assistant has the ability to spy on the figures in game or discover their darkest secrets. Maybe you can discover scandals. While the democratic process is not accurately portrayed, most of its components are retained, including the voting system. The interactions within political life are, however, fantasized. Scandals often are inspired by real-life political affairs and are regular features of the news. At each round, events have a probability of occurring that can be random or linked to the player's previous actions. These events confront the player with a problem which he must respond from among the multiple choices offered to him. So maybe that's a limitation. Maybe there's not a lot of ways that it can go. Maybe it's kind of like Suzerain, where it kind of like expands out, but then it kind of starts to narrow as it starts to come in. That's the kind of like that limitation of these turn-based games, is that it kind of like starts at a point and then it kind of expands out and all of these different kinds of things, but then it kind of narrows back down into maybe half a dozen, maybe a dozen different endings. And I think this isn't one of those where it's kind of like there's an ending. It's that you play until you're impeached or you lose your election. That's how long you play for. We can actually see Emmanuel Macron right here. So he looks like him, but he's called Edouard Mitron. Unless that's his French name, I don't exactly know, but we can obviously tell that is Emmanuel Macron right there. But moving on, we go to Power and Revolution 2023 edition. I do not have that much information on this, so I won't really stay on this for long. Essentially, all we know about the 2023 edition is that there is going to be an expansion of the war in Ukraine. The war in Ukraine is going to be, again, a pivotal thing in the 2023 edition. Maybe we'll see some expansions in how the military works in Power and Revolution. If they can do that, that'll be very interesting. I also want to see what kind of economic changes they will implement in this next edition, but we are confirmed with the 2023 edition. We will probably be seeing it within the next couple of months, and I do not have any information. I've already reached out to Eversim to get comment on this, whether that will happen. They've already confirmed that it's happening. They've also confirmed Geopolitical Simulator 5, but we're probably not seeing that until 2024, 2025, 2026, somewhere around there. So once I do get some information on it, I will make a video about it, obviously, so do look forward to that. Subscribe to the channel if you have not. Coming up next is Political Arena. Political Arena is one-of-a-kind strategy simulator about American power where no two playthroughs are the same. Create your own politician and seek fame or infamy in a fully simulated political world, complete with high-stakes campaign strategizing, backroom deals, scandals, special interests, and the press. Be a politician of your dreams or your nightmares. So essentially, this is democracy mixed with government simulator, mixed with political process, and also kind of mixed with suzerain, and this is what you get. So this is essentially like more of a suzerain-esque game, but it's especially about American political power. It's about American politics, and this is probably looking like one of the most detailed political simulators to date. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of like media attention that you can have. You can see right here. We have things like the peace accords. Maybe this is happening. Maybe you're negotiating it. You can talk about press conferences, TV interviews. You have a web interview. You have an op-ed that you can write. You can have interesting political elections. You can run for election. And then essentially what he says at the very end of this article is Google movies or TV shows about politics or novels, plays, experimental dances for that matter. And the list is near endless. Right now, you can stream the fictional stories of vice presidents, political journalists, secretaries of state, lobbyists, members of Congress, presidents in love, presidents swapping places, presidents punching Russian separatists, and so on. Heck, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington was a PN to the appropriations process and parliamentary maneuvering. If the filibuster can be made exciting, you'd think the world's largest medium would have caught on by now. Yet the search for political video games in the internet will ping back listicles of games that bear little resemblance to the politics of our popular imagination and or games that only dip their toe in the subject. Civilization, Suzerain, Europa Universalis are remarkably fun, but their politics is more like statecraft in the campaign trail or K Street. Crusader Kings remains one of our favorites and inspired some of our game design, but CK portrays a politics more akin to Game of Thrones courtly intrigue. We really enjoyed the Democracy series, but no one is going to confuse its abstraction for the How the Sausage is Made drama of the West Wing. There has been a healthy crop of run for president games where you can move a bobblehead Bernie Sanders across the map for a few turns, but a good luck finding one that has you confronting the oil lobby's bottomless war chest, click-hungry reporters, and the capitalistic demographics of 21st century Texas. In short, there hasn't been a game that captures the scope and feel of American politics. So where's the NBA 2K of politics, the Red Dead Redemption of politics, the city skylines of politics? Where's the game that takes the most significant subject in our society and puts it in the most significant medium of this century? It ain't out there yet, so we're building it. So essentially, this is a game in which they are looking to make a very good political simulator in which you play as a character and then you run for power. You become maybe the committee leader. You again, it looks more like a political process, but it's mixed with Suzerain. Suzerain is more of a fictional game. You're playing as a fictional country, kind of like Ace Combat. It kind of reminds me of Ace Combat, where like there's two different powers. It's like Tropico, except it's like a political drama. That's what it is. It's a turn-based political drama. And then the decisions that you make kind of like affect how the game will end and the policies that you make. But moving on from this is going to be second to last. We're talking about A More Perfect Union. This has been requested on my channel for a while to talk about, and I'm finally talking about it. A More Perfect Union is that you play as a party or ideological faction instead of just a single person of one of the two evolving major parties from the Revolution, American Revolution, to the future. You can vie for and dominate the decision-making for all major aspects of the U.S. government, from the presidency, cabinet, Senate, House, governors, military, and even the Supreme Court. It has been play tested by hand with team of play testers for hundreds of hours and is now time to make it into a computer game. So all of these screens are just illustrative images. They are not actual gameplay. The game includes over 7,000 historical politicians, all with their own ideologies, abilities, expertise, interests, personality traits in over 15 historical eras. So we're talking about the Civil Rights Movement. We're talking about the Revolution. We're talking about the Gilded Age. We're talking about Manifest Destiny. We're talking about the modern age. We're talking about World War I, II, III, maybe, hopefully not III. So the what if scenarios in this. So this is essentially like a historical game, but it's also a what if scenario. It's a what if game, kind of like an alternate history game. What if Alexander Hamilton became president? Henry Clay, Oprah Winfrey in 2008. What if there was a way we ended slavery without fighting the Civil War? What if there was a way that we responded differently to the attack on Pearl Harbor or 9/11 or COVID-19? What if John F. Kennedy hadn't been assassinated, or what if Lincoln had survived being shot? What if Susan B. Anthony could have held political office or even the presidency? And then it's essentially a very interesting kind of scenario where you can play maybe as Henry Clay or Alexander Hamilton and definitely kind of fight off the Federal Reserve as him or something like that. And then essentially gameplay covers all major aspects of the US government from 1772 to the future, from developing budding politicians to guiding the Supreme Court, from drafting legislation to fighting foreign wars. You can change the course of history as an ideological faction or party. You have over 1,000 pieces of legislation and hundreds of events and actions. Every playthrough is unique. So we can see right here the Manifest Destiny, we have the Unorganized Territory Oregon, the Mexican Secession right here. So maybe there's a couple of ideas that you have. So you can say, what if we didn't buy the Louisiana Territory from France? What if we didn't fight the Mexican-American War and get the secession of the Mexican secession? What if we didn't negotiate with Britain, maybe went to war with Britain over the Oregon Territory? And then you have as politicians that you can run as. So you can say you can run for president, you can run for Congress, Senate, and gubernatorial races. You can draft your politicians every 4 years, somewhat resembling an NFL football draft, in order to build a powerful faction. So you're not playing as a single person. You are playing as the Whig Party. You're playing as the Federalists, Anti-Federalists. You're playing as Democratic Republicans. You're playing as the Republicans. You're playing as the Democrats. You're playing maybe what if the Whig Party extended on into the Gilded Age? What if the Federalists lasted until the 1900s? There's a lot of different types of scenarios that you can go after, and one of them that actually caught my attention is the Chief Justice. The Chief Justice, as you can play as the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court in these eras. And so, for example, talk about the 1950s decision, landmark decision of Brown v. Board of Education. So you're playing as either Dwight D. Eisenhower, or you're playing as the Chief Justice at the time. You can say, okay, what if we didn't vote in favor of Brown v. Board of Education, in which that stopped segregation from occurring? And then at that point, you could be playing as Dwight D. Eisenhower, or maybe even another guy. Maybe Adlai Stevenson came into power at that point. And then you say, okay, we're not going to send federal troops into Little Rock to escort the Little Rock Nine into the school. Maybe you could say you're playing as the very beginning of the Supreme Court, about 1802. This was called Marbury versus Madison. Marbury versus Madison was the Supreme Court decision that essentially gave the Supreme Court the power to define the Constitution. Or you could say go to 2015. You say what would happen if Obergefell versus Hodges wasn't voted in favor of. There's a lot of different kinds of possibilities. I mean, even go back to the 1973, I think it was 1973, United States versus Nixon. You don't have to force Nixon to give up the Watergate tapes, and then maybe he's still in power and defeats Vietnam or something like that. There's a lot of different types of scenarios that you could go down in this. You can conduct foreign policy in this game to avoid war, provoke a war, or secure a loan. You can appoint competent generals, maybe even win Vietnam in a couple of playthroughs. The game includes many hypothetical situations in regards to expansion, secession, coups, impeachment, early emancipation, early women's suffrage, what if politicians, and more. And then the era of the future includes several hypothetical events, legislation, etc., to cover what could happen in the rest of the 21st century. And then the name general will be hypothetical politicians for the future. So there's a lot of different types of scenarios, and the one that I'm really interested in is playing as the Chief Justice. That one is going to be very interesting because there are so many landmark decisions that you can come after. The main one that I'm really excited for in this game is playing as a Chief Justice. Another case that comes to mind is Dred Scott versus Sanford. Essentially, that was the case in which they said, okay, a slave isn't a person, therefore they cannot sue, therefore this case doesn't make any sense. And that actually kind of put us on a direct path to the Civil War, because they essentially said that slaves are not humans and don't have any rights whatsoever, and then they essentially cannot sue in order to, they were basically like, this case doesn't make any sense. And that kind of put us on a war path for the Civil War in some ways, if you think about it. So a more perfect union is there's no release date as of yet. There's essentially not any sort of information that I can give you. I've already reached out to the developer, and he actually got back to me today and said that he essentially said, I'll get back to you whenever we have more information. So there's not really that much information that we have on it. So I say that it's coming out in 2023. There's a possibility that it might not. But from what I'm hearing, that is that the development process is moving faster and faster than it was a couple of months ago. So maybe we could see a release, maybe a early alpha, early beta release for this game in 2023. But this is one of the games that I am hopefully looking forward to in 2023. But I did want to finally talk about this game on the channel, so that's why it's on this list. And finally, the last one we are going to be talking about is a no-brainer. We're talking about World Warfare and Economics. I've talked about this game multiple times on this channel, and I will be previewing it this coming year in January and February and March. So we will be talking about on the channel, essentially, this is Power and Revolution, except it tries to outdo Power and Revolution in terms of detail. We talk about military power. We're talking about how you can interact with other countries. You have a lot of economic features that you can do. You can build your facilities. You can modify the laws. You can change your taxes. There's a lot of products that you can maybe put tariffs on. You can, there's a couple of battle simulators. So it kind of reminds me of Hearts of Iron, where you have different kinds of modifiers that go into how a battle can take place. You have a solar system that you can explore and exploit. You can send probes out into different areas of the galaxy, and you can send a probe out, maybe even piss off an alien race enough to where they're going to come back and start to fight you, and then the world has to come together and fight them off. It kind of makes multiplayer some sort of fun types of thing where it's like it goes from you're kind of competing against each other. Some idiot sends a probe out into the solar system. It's like supreme trolling. Just first thing that you do is you spend all your money on a probe, send it out into another galaxy or star system, and then they come back and say, hey, you sent this probe to piss us off enough, so we're going to fight you. And then all of you have to come together. Maybe you can take sides with the aliens. I don't know if you can take sides with the aliens, but I definitely know that one of the DLCs that he wants to make is that you can fight off the aliens. So it's going to be very interesting. There's a lot of different types of things that you can do in this game, and I'm going to be previewing it next month on this channel. I will disclose right now I'm getting paid for that, so but at the same time, I will be critical about this game. I will be talking about it, and I will be saying what can be done better. I'm working with the developer to make sure that this guy makes a product that is releasable and that is worthy of being promoted on my channel. Especially whenever money is involved. So I want to make sure that I am promoting a good product to you guys, but just because I am being paid by him, I will not let that stop me. And even he has acknowledged that that will not stop me from being critical about this game. I made a lot of mistakes when it came to superpower. I know there was a lot of things that were involved with that. There was a lot of obligations that I had made, and there was a lot of miscommunication as well. And it was just a nightmare going into the release of Superpower 3. So I do apologize if there's a lot of you guys that were turned off by my channel because of that. But I know it became a meme like, oh, guys, like and subscribe. They got like and subscribe. And that became a meme in itself, and also 400 changes. So hopefully there's a lot more than 400 changes in World Warfare and Economics whenever it comes out. But this is my list for you guys. I know you guys have been waiting for this list, and I am excited to bring this list to you guys. There's a lot of games that are coming out in 2023, and I'm excited to preview it on my channel. This year is going to be another big year for this channel, and I am excited to share it with you guys. We hit 7,000 subscribers just before the year came to an end, so I am absolutely happy that that happened. It actually happened on Christmas Day, so Merry Christmas to me. For 7,000 subscribers. So guys, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you guys want to see more content like this, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss anything whenever I do make it on the channel. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and take care. Happy New Year's, Merry Christmas, and I will see you guys in the next video.